Hey watchers, it's your girl Big Ish. Thank you so much for watching Black People Watch. Welcome back to my channel. This week we're reviewing the Lifetime documentary Whitney Houston and Bobbi Kristina, Didn't We Almost Have It All? The documentary had a lot of commentary from friends and family who knew Bobbi Kristina and Whitney Houston very well. That included Randy Jackson, Pebbles Reed, Shane Johnson, Whitney Houston's choreographer, Brandy Boyd, who is the goddaughter of Whitney Houston and the godsister of Bobbi Kristina. And I actually didn't even know that they knew each other. You might remember Brandy from Love and Hip Hop, or she was previously on Love and Hip Hop. Rudy Dozell, Whitney Houston's producer. Sherelle, you know, she sings that song, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You know it. We all know that song. Tina Brown, Whitney's friend. Sarah Bess Beckman, this is Bobbi Kristina's friend from school. And Lori Starks, Whitney Houston's drug counselor. So the documentary starts off as Whitney Houston as this very young woman, very beautiful, vivacious talent. She has a very strong voice. Her mother, Cissy Houston, was a background singer for some of the greatest artists ever. And Whitney Houston was a singer in church and just a beautiful face. And I think she did do some modeling because she was just so gorgeous, tall and thin. And she had this amazing voice that just took everybody by storm. She eventually meets her soulmate, Bobby Brown, who she loves and adores forever. And people don't really understand their relationship. They look at Bobby Brown as the bad boy and Whitney Houston as this princess. And she really has this princess image. And this is what her record label wanted to convey to her audiences. And they wanted to capture this girl next door image with Whitney Houston. And she ended up trying to live up to that image all of her life, and you know, to no avail. I mean, what can we say? It wasn't much in this documentary that we already didn't know. There were a few things that were just, you know, that blew my mind about this documentary. They did briefly go into Whitney's relationship with Robin Crawford. One of Whitney's friends, Rudy, did say in the documentary that they probably did have an affair and loved each other, but Whitney chose her marriage with Bobby Brown over the relationship with Robin because she wanted to work on her marriage with Bobby, and that was more important to her. Also, Whitney had very strong core Christian values that denounced that kind of relationship that she had with Robin, or allegedly had with Robin, and she was torn with that. So she let her relationship and friendship go with Robin. I do think that they were a little bit more open in this documentary with that aspect of her life, so that was appreciated. One of Whitney's friends, Tina Brown, does say that Whitney was sexually assaulted at the age of 13 years old. That was very eye-opening for me. I had no idea that that happened to her. And so this was part of her struggle with drugs and addiction. Whitney suffered several miscarriages that just left her spirit battered and broken. She was finally able to conceive her precious Bobbi Kristina, who she loved and adored, and they were like best friends. Whitney's very close girlfriend, Tina, says that Whitney never did drugs in front of Bobbi Kristina. And she probably never did, but you know, she did admit that children know, they smell, they can hear, they can see, you know, paraphernalia or whatever. So she did say that it would be, you know, kind of remiss of them to say, or naive of them to say that, you know, Bobbi Kristina had no idea what was going on. So, you know, they did seem to open up deeper about that. They go on in the documentary to talk about how the world noticed that Whitney was just so small and extremely emaciated. On the Michael Jackson special, where, you know, they said that she looked like a scarecrow because she was just so thin, and she really was. Her voice wasn't there. And so the world really took notice at this point of her drug addiction or drug habit. They talk about her famous interviews, Whack is Crack with Diane Sawyer, her Whitney Houston interview. These are all things that we already know. All of this leads up to the fateful day on February 11th, 2012, where they find Whitney Houston passed away in a bathtub in the Beverly Hilton Hotel. This was the pre-Grammy award show that Clive Davis has every year. Nick Gordon is there, another young man is there, and they find her and they're sobbing. They try to keep the information from Bobbi Kristina for whatever reasons. I have no idea why they would try and deter her from the scene. If your mother has passed away, you want to be there, you want to know what's going on. and they try and get her away from the hotel room, but she ends up, you know, getting around everybody and going to find out that her mother had died, and they said that she passed out on the spot and she was just overwhelmed with grief, which is totally sad. We learned that Whitney Houston dies at the age of 46. Now, I have to be very careful on how I say this because I do want to be respectful to the family. There were some pictures that leaked in the Globe, or was it National Enquirer magazine, of Whitney Houston in her casket. I did see those pictures, and I have to be careful about how I say this because I felt good after I saw those pictures, and I know it was a violation to the family, and it was a violation to everyone that she loved, and it was a horrible thing that they did. However, I felt very blessed to see those pictures. I'm a very big Whitney Houston fan, and I felt like I attended her funeral almost. I felt like I was there, and she just looked gorgeous in her casket. Her hair was wonderful. She wore purple, and I saw that the casket said Nippy, and I was able to feel at peace for her. And, you know, so even though I know that was a terrible, you know, horrible thing, whomever leaked those pictures for however amount of money that they did, you know, of course they're going to have their retribution coming back to them 100%. But the good thing that came out of this, and there are good things that come out of negative situations, is that I'm sure that her fans felt at peace, like myself, and at ease by seeing her laid to rest. And she looked good. She looked beautiful, just like an angel, like she always did. There was an outpour, just such a beautiful outpour of love from her family and friends, her hometown of Newark, New Jersey, and around the globe. She was a global superstar. You know, they nicknamed her the Voice. Her voice was just incredible and like no other. No one can match Whitney Houston's voice. Only one voice like that in a lifetime. And, you know, of course, she'll be sadly missed. There was a small cameo by Sissy Houston, and, you know, she talked briefly about her daughter. It was very brief. It was for a split second. I'm sure it's hard for her to go over this again, and so she probably didn't want to do much and just said a few things. She is getting up there in age, and, you know, this type of thing can be hard on you. We learned that right after Bobbi Kristina loses her mother, the closest person in her life to her, she gets involved with her friend, who is Nick Gordon. People view Nick as a user. They see that he has Whitney Houston's credit card all the time, and Whitney just blows it off like, you know, you can go ahead and have my card and charge a couple of things. Like, I don't care, they're kids, they're having fun. She loved Nick, and so she was not really concerned about him, you know, spending her money because, you know, maybe to her it was, you know, chump change and it wasn't a big deal. Unfortunately, Whitney's passing is an opportunity for Nick Gordon to manipulate and abuse Bobbi Kristina. On January 31st, 2015, eerily, they find Bobbi Kristina face down in a bathtub, almost the exact same way her mother died. And Nick Gordon and their friend Max pulls Bobbi Kristina out of the bathtub and start to perform CPR on her while the ambulance arrives. And I'm sure this is the reason why she was on life support for 6 months, because they had the common sense to perform CPR on her. This is where I learned some things that I had not learned before. Bobbi Kristina was physically abused by Nick Gordon, allegedly, but not allegedly because it was proven in court, and there were people there who witnessed this horrific abuse. Just months after her mother died, he's beating her to a bloody pulp. They showed pictures of her autopsy report where she had teeth missing because he knocked her teeth out, beat her to a pulp, beat her on the floor, kicked her, stomped and kicked her, dragged her up the steps by her hair. And they said that Bobbi Kristina couldn't even move. She was like in a fetal position. And at this point, I actually paused the video and sat and read the autopsy report that was on the documentary. I sat and read what she encountered and what she went through, which was horrific. I'm sure that, and you know, you don't make excuses for people because there's no excuse for someone to act like an animal, but Nick was in some kind of drug-induced rage and beat poor little Bobbi Kristina. I mean, she was no bigger than a minute, you know, just horrifically, and drug her up the steps and threw her on the bed. Because she had so much alcohol and drugs in her system, they couldn't determine if it was the beating that killed her or if it was the drugs that killed her. But she definitely was asphyxiated because she could not breathe when she was in the bathtub. She was face down. Just sad, just completely, just very, very sad that the young girl had to endure that. And just losing, I mean, anybody having to endure that, but right after losing your mom and going through all that, and you know, you are in a haze of drug state, a hazy drug state yourself, and to have this monster beat you savagely. The thing that bothers me as well is that there were people there who didn't seem to stop it or didn't know what to do, or you know, they're all kind of young people. I'm sure they didn't want to get involved. But when you see somebody getting beat like that, you have to stop it. I just don't know what was going through their minds to sit there and watch that poor little girl get beat like that. Of course, we know that Nick Gordon himself passed away from a drug overdose on January 1st. I forget what year that was. It was maybe 2 years ago. He died on New Year's Eve, just partying it up. And, you know, he would tell his story to anybody who'd listen, because Bobby Brown did win a $10 million lawsuit against Nick Gordon for his role in Bobbi Kristina's death. Now, they said they couldn't prove that he killed her, but his beating of her was the probable cause, and maybe she went in the bathroom and turned the water on and get in the tub and just sunk under because she was just beaten high and everything else. Just a perfect storm and a perfect combination to take her out of here. Jack Walker, Nick Gordon's younger brother, they gave him an opportunity to speak on his behalf, and what he wanted to say was that Nick loved Whitney and Bobbi Kristina. I don't know what kind of love that is, but he loved, you know, them some kind of way. Sometimes what people confuse love is love of being able to use people and manipulate them and take what they can take from them and hurt them. And they love that. They do love that, you know, because that's their genetic makeup. That's who they are as a human being. I'm not saying that Nick Gordon was 100% a bad guy. I don't know him. I've never met him. I'm only going by the reports from friends and family and people who saw them in this documentary of what horrible things that he's done in his lifetime. And I'm no judge and I'm no jury, and none of these people are no longer here. They all have had their day of judgment at this point. So, you know, we let it all go to God right now. What I can say about the documentary is I did learn those things about Bobbi Kristina's death that I had not learned before. I do think that this is terribly still devastating for the family and friends, and I think that at this point they don't need to do any more documentaries. Even just watching Brandy Boyd just relive it all over again, it was just so devastating to her, and she just broke down and cried, and I cried with her, because when you go through these documentaries, you're reliving it all over again. And sometimes if you go through things in your mind or something somebody's done to you or said to you, it could be 20 years ago, you could still have evoked those same emotions. Whitney Houston will never be able to get over the loss of her daughter. You grieve something like that forever. These people really loved and cared for Bobbi Kristina and Whitney Houston, and they will mourn and grieve them forever. And so will the world, but not like these people. These people knew Whitney Houston and Bobbi Kristina personally. They've been holidays, they've Christmases, and you know, just moments that, you know, nobody else knows about between them, and they loved them and adored them. Not just the superstar aspect of Whitney Houston, they loved her as a person, they loved her as a friend, as a sister, as, you know, an auntie, as a godmom, and you know, they'll never have her back. You know, there is a lot of Whitney Houston stories. There was a tribute to her after she died, Whitney Houston, We Will Always Love You. There was the Lifetime story, Whitney, the movie on Lifetime again. There was another documentary of her music that was narrated by L.A. Reid and Babyface. And, you know, I just think that at some point, just let her rest. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it's too much for the family and too much for the friends. They were just still devastated by her death. And, I'm sure you never get over it. I don't know why they keep doing Whitney Houston's story over and over again. I think, you know, very much like Billie Holiday will be telling Whitney Houston's story for 50, 60, 70 years and many years to come, and people will redo her story over and over and over again and still try to, paint her light and show her light. But right now, for the family and friends, I think it's just a bit too much. It just seemed like it was so very much. So, my condolences to the family again, and friends and people that really knew and loved Bobbi Kristina, and my condolences to true fans like myself who loved Whitney Houston and her family. And, we love seeing Bobby Brown. I remember watching the Bobby Brown show, their documentary that they had, and you can still see it. Is still on YouTube because I've watched several episodes recently in the past few months. But I never thought them as being like crazy. I really thought of them as being crazy in love and in sync with one another. And even when they do that dance like this, and everybody clowns them a little bit because they felt it was odd. I just thought that they were like right here. You know how you get with your friend and y'all do like that and y'all pump it up and you see each other. It's like, I see you, I see, we mirror each other. I really thought that her and Bobby had that great relationship. And I was sad that they divorced, when they divorced, because I really felt that there was really great love there. And of course there really was. It was just that every love is not good and can sustain or is sustainable or good for you. It's a very sad story. Again, still sad till this day. If you are a Whitney Houston fan, I'm sure you'll enjoy it because you enjoy Whitney, and watching the pictures of her when she was in her heyday and in her prime, and seeing her with her baby girl and her family. That's all love and good, but there are very sad, dark parts of this documentary. So just be aware of that. I watched it till the end. I went back and looked at other parts. Again, like I said, I looked at Bobbi Kristina autopsy, and just shocking, and what she endured that night. Devastating. So, again, it's not much that we don't know already from this documentary. They're not going to divulge any secret relationship between her and Robin. They're not going into that here. They go into her drug addiction and they move on from it. They move past it. They don't talk about Whitney Houston with Ray J. They just say that, they had a friendship. I'm sure she was getting her whole entire life with a younger man, and that's okay too. So, mind something like that, definitely give it a look. I would definitely watch it again. Like I said, it's not much more that we know about the documentary. So this is your girl, Big Ish. Thank you so much for watching Black People Watch, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.